Hey guys, Brianna here, and welcome to my books that disappointed me the most in the year. As you guys know, for this video and for the videos that I like, my favorite books of the year, I literally just go through the books I've read and I make a list of which ones fall under each category, and I literally just say them on camera and maybe say a little bit about them. That's like literally all these videos are. So as always, you get the bads out of the way. I'm going to say the books that disappointed me the most, and then another video will be up the next day whenever talking about my favorite ones. So for me, I don't do my least favorite, I do the most disappointing books of the year. So books that I had hoped would be fantastic or started off promising and I didn't like. So otherwise I'd just be listing so I read 70 books this year. So otherwise I would just be listing all the books into 2 videos. So that's why I don't list all 70 books between the 2 videos. I just talk about specifically the ones that let me down. So let's get started. First, Burial Rites by Hannah Kent. This girl sentenced to death in the old Iceland or one of those countries. So I don't have it in front of me because books I don't like I give away. And so this is her journey. She has to stay with a family instead of in prison up until her execution. And you find out that there's more to the story and she's not to blame. But I was just like, it was okay. Everyone was saying it was amazing, and I'm like, it's just okay. Thunderstruck by Eric Larson. I talked about him briefly a while ago. So I've now read 3 books by him. The Devil in the White City, which was fantastic. Thunderstruck, and then The Beasts in the Garden, Garden and the Beast, whatever. It's about the American ambassador that went to Germany during World War II and his family. And the last 2 just disappointed me so much. They were so poorly done and just not as interesting and just, so upsetting. And so bummed, so I'm done with that author now. But I would always recommend The Devil in the White City, and they are making a movie with the first love of my life, Leonardo DiCaprio. So I don't know when that'll be out or whenever, but I'm so looking forward to that. It has to do with murder and super interesting history and the Chicago World's Fair, and yeah. And so yeah, and also someone told me, Kathleen Ann I think told me that she met him one time and he was kind of a dick. So that also was not in the author's favor. So we have the Tana French mystery Dublin Murder Squad mystery series. I read the book 1 and I was like, oh, I hope it really goes on, because I really do think the main character had something to do with his friends disappearing when he was a kid. We never find out that mystery, and then what Tana French does is every book follows someone else in the murder squad, which I think is brilliant. I think it's quite cool. But she leaves you without so much info per book. And so I read the second one too, which is The Likeness. And it's just this girl going undercover looking like this girl whose friends accidentally murdered her or something. And it was just ridiculous, and it was so much about it's just, I don't know, it was just, I wouldn't call them mystery series. That's the thing, is I think that they're either thrillers or fiction, because they lack so many important elements of mystery in my mind when I'm reading them that I don't think that they're good. Or, not that they're not good, but they're disappointing. They disappoint me. So I'm done with Tana French. A Dance to the Music of Time by Anthony Powell. I was originally in the reading group for this. It's apparently some epic series, but I read book 1 and I was just I couldn't finish book 1, and I was like, this is boring. I'm sure maybe it gets interesting, but it was just rich kids going to places and talking about their lot. No plot was happening. So whatever. Matilda by Mary Shelley. This was just annoying and disappointing. Apparently her stepfather who she hasn't seen in forever is apparently in love with her or whatever. But literally all that happens is she gets to see her father again after years, and he's like, I feel for you how a father shouldn't, and then she runs away. It's so dumb. It's so dumb and disappointing. Next, The Man in the High Castle by Philip K. Dick. I'm so done with Philip K. Dick. And I still have 3 of his I haven't read because I bought 5 of them in bulk for really cheap, and I'm just so disappointed. He could have explored the world, so it's an alternate universe of post-World War II, what happened if Japan and Germany won and they split the world up. And it's just so doesn't explore the world enough, and the main plot is all about the man in the high castle, like, who is he, like, da-da-da-da, and there's a book within a book of an alternate universe of, like, how we could have won the war. It's interesting. But it's not explored at all, which is why I think at some point I'll check out the miniseries, because I've heard that it does a great job of expanding the world, because that's what's so interesting about it. Not the plot, it's this hypothetical that Dick created. But it was just so disappointing. It was so disappointing, like, to finish it and realize you don't explore the world, and the plot is whatever, and da-da-da. We have The Forgotten Garden by Kate Morton. I heard of Kate Morton through the German BookTube video, and her book wasn't bad or anything, but it was definitely kind of like romantic thrillers almost, and that's just not really my thing, and I thought it would I thought they were more mystery based, or like solid mystery based, so I was just disappointed by it, and no offense to her, but I think that's how all of her other books are too, so I just don't have an interest in reading them. So yeah, it was disappointing, but like, again, some of these books are disappointing, but they're not all like bad books, or I thought that they were bad books. They were just disappointing. How many times can I say that? Disappointing. Next, HHH by Lauren Bennett, and it's about the attempted assassination of Himmler. I always get their names mixed up because it's like Heinrich Himmler and like, you know, and then it's yeah, it's confusing. Anyways, Hitler's like right-hand man, men. And it's told in a way that like someone is like, this guy's really interested in research, and he finds out about this story, and it kind of goes back and forth between his life and the story, which I thought was so unnecessary. You should have just told the story. And people had just been talking about how good it was, and it's about an era that I find super interesting, but it just like really fell flat with the story, and it was so much build up to the attempted assassination, which they don't kill him that day, but I think he dies like a couple days later. But yeah, it was just, I think it could have been packaged better. That's all I'm saying. Then we have Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. Oh my gosh, probably one of the biggest letdowns of, besides, so I liked The Count of Monte Cristo, but I couldn't finish it. I finished Rebecca, and so disappointing. Everyone loves this book and gives it 5 stars. I thought that it was too wordy, it dragged on too much, and by the time the secret was revealed, I thought the secret was super interesting, and like, what a twist that like his wife was like a total bully and like crazy, and everything. But also, and I like the idea of like how much of that is true, like how much of that is him projecting and just wanting her gone, and how much of, like, how, like, that's so crazy interesting to me. But I was just so disappointed, I guess. I don't know, I finished and I was like, and I was also like trying to read faster because I was like, what is all this build up, like, and the main character, the new lady he marries, is just so kind of like flat, and I don't know, I was just really disappointed. So yeah, there's that. And then we have The Man Who Was Thursday, A Nightmare by G.K. Chesterton, which, this guy goes undercover, like this police gives him permission to go undercover as an anarchist, to find out these anarchist plans, and then you find out everyone else there has also been given by the police to find out stuff, and then, like, besides the main guy, who's called Thursday because they're all called days of the week, and then it turns into, like, this fever dream chase, and I was just like, what am I reading? Like, I just was literally like, what? So, yeah, and I had never read anything by G.K. Chesterton, so I was like, ugh, okay. Next, 2 more books. The Wedding Man, by Richard Bachman, aka Stephen King. I talked about this, my disappointment with this in my wrap-up. It was just so, it's kind of the same premise as The Long Walk, but, I mean, with different characters and semi-different premise, but it's like dystopian, and there's like a game, type of game situation. This guy in this book is doing it to save his family, but I just felt like it was so flat and just such an, it's like one of those, and the movie, the guy that plays him in the movie is Arnold Schwarzenegger, I found out, so you can tell, like, imagine just like pointless action or like over the top done dystopian stuff, and like it's like in book form, and it's like so dramatic and so like dude bro, which is kind of like, I don't think it makes as good of a point or as good of an interesting piece of literature as The Long Walk does. So my disappointment stemmed from that. And then finally, The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. This is my first time reading H.G. Wells. And luckily the second book I read by him, I really enjoyed. Although I don't think it makes it onto my... I can't remember if it makes it on my favorites list. My favorites video. Oh my gosh. There we go, that's better. But yeah, so The Time Machine, he finds a time machine, tells his friends about the journey, and you're like, this is, again, what am I reading? Like, this is so weird. And, like, he's just hypothesizing about the future the entire time because of where he's at. But, again, it's like, he doesn't know where he's at specifically, or, like, what year it is, and the creatures that are there, like, take his time machine and he has to find them. And there's creatures that live in the daylight that are afraid of the people underground, and the people underground that only come out during the day, and, like, I think eat like people. It's just, I was like, for an interpretation of the future or whatever, I just thought it was very, kind of dull. Like, you could have expanded more. But, again, this was his idea, I guess, of the future, or, you know, his imagination. So he didn't expect people that talk in foreign sentences, or have the same language, obviously, or it was just kind of a very dull, solitary journey. And that's doesn't really make for a good story about, you know, the future, different time, and everything. Yeah. Okay, so that's it. Those were the books that disappointed me in 2016. Let me know if you loved these books. I know some of you guys really do love some of these books that I talked about. But yeah, or let me know if you agree and you didn't like some of these, especially HHH, because I think I've only heard of people that I'm mutuals with on GoodReads about, like, that they liked it. So let me know if you've read that at all and if you didn't like it. That's a more obscure one. But yeah, I will see you guys in the next vid, where I talk about all the books I loved. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time.